Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to another teacher talk sessions. And today we have an English coach, and her name is Patricia Asor and from Israel, and she's advancing excellence in ESL. And hello, and also she considers herself as a writer creative programming in English, and that motivates children to learn and speak. And now I'm waiting for her to join to Patty to our live sessions. Okay, and after that, and we are going to start our live session. So let me look at her. Mm, from my session here. Yes, when she comes we are going to start, and it's going to be a really interesting session, just like other sessions, and I hope you are going to enjoy this session too with Patricia. Patty, yes, she is here. Dash. Yes, there she is. Okay,
Hi,
good evening, Patty. It's good to
good
see you.
evening. It's
It's
nice
good
to
to
be
see
here.
you
Thank you.
to teacher talk session. It's good to see you here, and and I hope you are ready to this action.
As ready as I can be.
Yeah, great. It's great to hear that. And before I start, how are you? I would like to say to you, how are you? I hope you're fine, that everything is fine over there.
Everything's good. We're on lockdown right now, so we're
Yeah, I can
staying
understand.
close to home, but
Yes,
keeping busy.
yeah, like everybody. Yeah, keeping busy. I can see that. Okay. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to accept my invitation to Teacher Talks live session. And I'm so happy that you are here and accepting my invitation. And I'm sure that we are going to have a really nice teacher talk sessions tonight. And I hope you and our listeners, and of course the other listeners, will enjoy our session. And if you are ready,
Me
and we
too.
can start.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, good. So can you please tell about yourself, Patty?
Sure. Um, well, I've been living in Israel for 29 years. When I moved to
Wow.
Israel, my first profession was a preschool teacher. And since I moved to Israel and I was not speaking the language, when I moved here, I decided that the best professional jump would be to become a English teacher. I took
Mm-hmm.
courses and had a lot of mentors that taught me how to be the best English teacher that I could be. When I moved to Israel in 1992, I had two small boys. They were 1.5 and 2.5. And then I had two more children. So I now have four. I have Benji, Danny, Talia, and Yoni. And
Mm-hmm. Great. Great.
what else can I tell you about my family? I'm now a grandmother. I have one
Oh,
granddaughter, so this is really
really? It's
exciting.
great.
She's one years old, one in a month, 2 months. Um, what else can
Wow.
I tell you? And so when I moved to Israel, I decided to pursue English as a second, to teach English as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being a preschool teacher in my background helped me to be a really good English teacher as a second, teaching English as a second language, because a lot of the tools that I learned to teach young children, I
Mm-hmm.
could apply to teaching students who needed to learn English. So
I see.
it came very natural to me. And after, I guess, about 10 years of teaching, I became a counselor
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I counseled teachers all over the southern region. my primary area was in Ashdod, which is a beach city. So it was always nice to drive in and see a beautiful beach.
Yeah, it's
And I
great.
was in charge, I was involved with 45 different elementary schools and over 100 teachers. And
Wow.
my
Hmm.
job was basically to give them support and observe and see what I could do to help them become the best teachers that they could be. I worked
Hmm.
through the Ministry of Education. So obviously, I
Wonderful.
had a support system. And the last thing I just want to tell about myself before we move on to another question is that
Sure, of course.
over the past over the past couple of years, I opened my own business, and the business is called
Yes,
English in Action. And
yes.
basically, the whole idea of the my business is exactly how it sounds. That I believe that English needs to be taught through doing, and not
Hmm.
just that children need to be, not just children, but anyone learning the language needs to be an active participant in the language and
Yes.
not a passive learner.
Hmm.
And so I built basically in my business, I built some summer camp programs that are designed for teaching English in a fun and creative way, where the kids are doing and
Yes.
moving through arts and crafts and movement and games and such. And I also created my own program called We Speak English, where the children, it's 20 lesson plans. Each lesson plan is 90
Hmm.
minutes and it's filled with games and activities that I sell.
Yes.
So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Patty. And actually, I was going to ask you about your experiences in teaching, but you have already mentioned your experiences, I think, in teaching. And so my other question is, what was your favorite moment or experience in your own education?
In my education or in teaching kids?
No, in your education. Oh, it can be teaching kids too, but actually, I wonder in your own education. But what's your favorite moment
Um,
or experience?
well, it's very interesting because I'm getting up there in age, but I have a very strong memory from my high school
Wow.
experience where where we had actually a lab in the school. We taught we learned about early childhood development, and then we actually had a lab in the school where kids from the neighborhood came
Mm-hmm.
to, and we set up like a kindergarten program that the kids in the neighborhood came to the kindergarten, and the high school
Yeah.
students actually taught the students, and we had to write lesson plans. And what I learned, what
Wow.
a very special moment for me during that time was realizing that some of the other kids in the high school class that were really, really good students and they got, straight A's, hundreds on all their exams. When you put them in front of the kids, in front of the class, they like, they didn't know what they were doing. Like they weren't good with the kid. Not everyone. I'm talking about, a few. And
Yeah.
I had this moment where I realized that teaching is really something that can't be taught. I mean, you can learn, you can get a lot of tools, you can get a lot
Yes.
of ideas, but being in front of a classroom and knowing how to connect with the pupils and to engage them in whatever it is that you want to do with them is really something that is natural and that not everyone can do it. So all
Exactly. I
teachers
agree.
who
Mm.
teachers who are doing it are, it's really a gift. It's something that not it can't be all learned. Some of it has to be instinct. So that was a moment for me when I was probably 17 years old that I realized that.
I see. I see. It's a great moment. It's a great moment. It's good to hear that. And my other question is, you just now you mentioned about your business. And can you make it a
Okay.
little bit clear? Like, can you tell us about your current business and what kind of things you are doing there? And so can you make it a little clearer for us? Because I know that you have a really great business, English in Action, and you are doing really great things as far as I'm following you, and I watch your videos and the things that you are doing, and they are really great. Can you tell us about?
Yes, well, I kind of wear three different hats. One is where I provide workshops for teachers, and in these workshops, the idea is really to spend an hour and a half with a small group of teachers, giving them all kinds of activities and ideas on how they can get their pupils speaking. It's called the ping pong system of speaking English.
Yeah.
And because I really believe that we need to get kids speaking English. It doesn't mean anything to them if, you know, when we think about our own native language, most of us, no matter what language we speak to, when we speak to children when they're born, they speak that language for the first 6 years of their lives before they're introduced to the reading and
Mm-hmm.
writing aspect of the learning. But when we teach English as a second language, you know, all of a sudden we're teaching them all at once how to speak, how to understand, how to write, how to read, and it's overwhelming.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I give the teachers tools that help them to bring the speaking aspect of the learning more to the forefront of the lesson and not just by the way. And I also, so that one is workshops. So I also have other workshops, such as how to build an English day, or how to write a lesson plan that is engaging in the first 5 minutes, how to grab the pupils in the first 5 minutes of the
Mm-hmm.
lesson.
Mm-hmm.
The second hat that I wear, which is fairly new part of the business, is coaching, where I actually provide a one-on-one with teachers who might need help in specific areas. Because
Yes.
my experience when I was a counselor for the Ministry of Education,
Uh-huh.
the new teachers feel a little overwhelmed, and they often find that even though they studied for 3-4 years in the university, they don't always feel that they were as prepared as they would like to be. So
I see.
when you coach, you can tailor it to specific needs that they might have, whether it be how to build a test, how to do
Mm-hmm.
mapping, how to write a lesson plan, whatever, how to deal with behavioral problems. There's all different things that you can do in a coaching session. And the last area is my business with the game, where I've
Yeah.
written a program, which I already told you about, that has over
Exactly.
35 games and lesson plans, and it's excellent.
Excellent. Yeah. And I hope we are going to hear one or two games from you during the sessions, maybe when the question comes there.
Yeah,
We
I'm
would like
sure
to
I
hear
could show you some
your
things.
your games. Okay, so thank you. My question is, uh, how did you start? How did you decide to create this English in Action?
Well, when I was teaching, I always built English days, always created on special holidays or any kind of, I tried to come up with activities that really got the kids
Uh-huh.
doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just over years of experience that I came up with the idea. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I stopped working at the ministry, I worked in an educational campus called Beit Yetziv, and there I actually was the program developer, where I had to write and create different programs and activities
Yes.
for the pupils. And I had written so much material, and then when it was time for me to make a career change,
Mm-hmm.
um, it seemed the right thing to do, just to go into my own business and start working for myself. So I decided to kind of, the first year or so, I did some counseling, I did some English days, I did a really big English camp in a city called Sderot, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's very famous here
Mm-hmm.
because It's the first city that got lots of rockets. So they they're a city that has had a lot of trauma. So there's a lot of the good part. Not that there's anything good about that, but the positive aspect is that they get a lot of funding. So they have extra funding for lots of great programming.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
they hired me to create an English summer camp. So that's what I
Wow.
did. And then I wrote
Wonderful.
this program, which is, so I just, I feel like I have a lot of ideas, and I decided that I would create something that teachers could, benefit from. And
I
obviously
see.
the end person are the pupils. The teachers benefit
Mm-hmm.
because they have everything ready and all the ideas and all the activities
Yes.
and all the cards. And the kids benefit because they enjoy learning English in a different way.
I understand. It's wonderful. It's a great. So it's a great, and
Do you want do you want me
it's
to
good
show you
that,
some of the stuff?
yeah. If you want, you can show it, or if you want, you can show it. In the
Well,
other
we
next
can wait till
questions.
the end. You tell me
Okay,
whenever
just
whenever it's a good
yeah.
time.
Okay, I know that. My other question is this is really a hard question, Patty. What are
Okay.
the advantages and disadvantages of working in Israel? Be careful about it.
Okay. Um,
It's a
well,
little bit political question. What are the
no,
advantages and
no, I don't
disadvantages?
really think it's a political question, because when I think of the advantages and the disadvantages, I really think of it within the school district itself. And first of all, I think the advantage as an English teacher here in
Yes.
Israel, especially during, I mean, I felt it before, but I feel it even stronger now with the coronavirus, that
Yes.
there is such a support system. The English teachers are all, working together to provide the best educational support for the pupils during this difficult time. And
Mm-hmm.
they're not letting anyone feel like they're alone. So a teacher can write in a WhatsApp group, I need this, and within seconds. I mean, there's sometimes where I don't check it for a whole day, and there'll be like 155 messages, and it's all support, helping each other. How do we do this? Because the online learning is a fairly new thing for teachers. So that's a very positive thing about working in Israel, is that the support system with the teachers is amazing. No matter where I've
Wonderful.
worked, the staff has been amazing. The principals have been very supportive. A disadvantage is probably, and I spoke. It's funny because I spoke to somebody this morning from Bangladesh, and
Oh.
he talked a little bit about behavior problems. And I don't
Uh,
think that it's specific to Israel, but I think that today's population of students, or young kids, um, are more bold. They're bold in the way they act, and to their parents,
uh-huh.
to their teachers. And so
Yes.
I would say that that's a disadvantage, is that excuse me, my earphone fell out.
No problem. No, it's
Um,
okay.
it's a
It's okay.
little, so the disadvantage is, I guess, how to deal with um, uh, the boldness of children, and
Born of children.
the
Mm-hmm.
parents too. Parents can also be a difficult aspect of the teaching, is
I
how to
got. I see.
give parents what they need, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right.
not
Exactly.
not let them run the world of
I see.
teaching. Of,
Okay. I see. Thank you. And my other question is, what is your opinion about distant learning?
okay, I think it's can be a very positive tool if used right.
Yeah.
Um, I think that in order to use it right, there needs to be a lot more support out there for teachers. And
Uh-huh.
when I mean that, I mean that it's not enough to just say, you can use these games, you can do this site, you can do this PPT, you can show them this, you can teach them this. I think that, they really need to know how to
Mm-hmm.
set up the lesson from beginning to end, because kids can't sit for 45 minutes and just listen to us talk. They need to,
Yeah, you're right.
just like in the classroom, they need, in a regular classroom, you're not supposed to do more than, 5 to 10 minutes frontally. So it's hard for teachers to make the switch, but they're doing it. And I think it's pretty amazing. But I think just like in the classroom, in online, kids need to be
Mm-hmm.
active. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give an example of what I mean, if that's okay.
Okay,
I have an
sure, of course.
example.
Yeah,
Um,
sure, go
I
ahead. Mhm.
so what I mean by being active is pupils, no matter if they're learning online or in the classroom, especially when for them, it's a new language. English is not
Uh-huh.
their native
Mm-hmm.
language. They need something familiar every day.
Mm-hmm.
So normally
Yes.
we start a lesson with good morning, boys and girls. How are you? What's today? What's yesterday? the date, the weather, and all that. Okay, those are like the normal things. But if we're going to be doing distant learning with them because of the corona, then one activity that I had suggested that they could do is that each day there's a different thing, and it's only for the first, opening 5 minutes of the lesson, where they know that, well, sometimes it could be longer, but they know that every day there's a special thing that's going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, in Israel, for example, we learn from Sunday to Friday. Some schools learn from Sunday to Thursday. So on Sunday, it could be Sunday story, where they know that every Sunday they have to come in ready with a couple, even if they're in fourth grade, with even a
Yes,
sentence of something they did over the weekend. Okay, so it's their Sunday
I see.
story. And it could
Mm-hmm.
be Monday movement or Monday music, where they knew that when they come to the lesson, they're going to have a song, they're going to learn a song, or they're going to do exercise in English, or whatever the case may be. And they could do
Yes,
Tuesday task, where the teacher says every Tuesday you need to come to the Zoom meeting
with a tap.
with a task. Like it could be, today we're going to learn about food, bring your favorite food from the kitchen. Or today we're going to learn there isn't there, it's in her mind. She's not going to tell the kids, but
Yeah,
she's going to teach them there is and there are. So they need to bring one thing from, they need to go show something in their bed, in their house, that there's only one of. So if they're pointing
I see.
to,
Uh-huh.
there is a boy, there is a girl, there is a window in my bedroom, there is a bed, there are books. So to use the environment around them if they're at home, and that way they're engaged, and they're not just, you're
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
showing them a PowerPoint about there is and there are. Okay. And then going on, Wednesday could be Wednesday wonder, I wonder. And then you can find out what they're thinking about. If they're scared, if they're nervous, like what's going on in their
Mm-hmm.
minds during this time.
Exactly.
And Friday fun, Thursday, I don't remember what I thought of, but anyway, that's the idea. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great. So every day, different activities we give the students that
Right.
for the lessons. You mean?
Yeah. So they would know. So that every day, for example, if it's Sunday story, obviously if she has 30 kids in the class, she can't ask all 30. But she'll like write down, she'll call on 5 kids. And
Mm-hmm.
then, um, so then the next week, she'll call on 5 different kids, so that they
Five different
know.
kids.
Right. So that they know that they'll have an opportunity to talk, because, it
I
would be
see.
boring to do for the whole lesson, but
I
for the
see. It's
first five
great.
minutes. Okay?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so 5 minutes. It's great. Wonderful. So, Patty, my other question is like, how has the situation with COVID-19 changed teaching, and what instruments can teacher use?
Okay. Um, hmm.
This is actually, the whole world's
Well,
problem nowadays.
right. Well, I think that one thing is that the COVID-19, I think in some ways, I hope it will help children to become more independent learners.
Yes.
Like, not if, but
I think, Patty, I think we have a connection problem there. Ah, now okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, sure. Now it's okay.
Okay, 1 second. It's 1 second. I realized that my phone battery is
No,
going faster
I
than I
see.
thought it would. So I need to get a cord, but I
Yes.
asked my child to bring it, one of my children.
Okay.
So what I was saying about the COVID, I think that parents, because they have to be at work or while they are working from home, the kids also have to be learning online. I think that eventually, and it's a process, and that's what teachers need to understand, and parents and pupils, that this whole change of bringing learning into
Mm-hmm.
through the internet and through distant learning is a process, and we're not going to really perfect it in the first 6 months of COVID. It's something that's going to take some time, and I feel like parents and teachers and kids need to give the time. Like, they don't need to stress so much if the kid didn't understand the homework. I mean, I hear teachers saying parents are calling them at 11 and 12 o'clock at night saying they didn't understand the assignment. But, you know, kids, teachers need to learn more how to explain from a distance. Kids need to
Yes.
become more confident in learning without their
Mm-hmm.
parents and teachers walking them through every step. But it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a process, I think.
I see. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that
Like
I
what?
think that,
Mhm.
like I said before, that we need to do more interactive activities online so that the kids are engaged and not just listening.
I see.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then what we can say as a teacher trainer or English instructor, what kind of support do you provide for the teachers during this period?
I think the main thing is the main message, and this is what I suggested earlier when I talked about it, my own personal experience of the advantages in Israel, is the teacher support. I think that we need to let teachers know that they're not alone, that there
Mm-hmm.
is a great community, that there's a
Yes.
teaching community. And that's one of the things that I loved about you reaching out to me, is that, you know, when I started getting involved in these WhatsApp groups and doing the Sunday suggestion and the Tuesday
Yes.
tips, and reaching out to teachers, my original thought was, you know, here in Israel. And
I see. Uh-huh.
I realized pretty quickly that, you know, the community doesn't have to stay only in Israel, that, you know, there are teachers all over the world teaching English as a second language, and we
Yeah.
can share and learn from each other.
Of course. Exactly. Yeah, you are right. Definitely. We just like now also we are sharing something, we are learning from you, and I'm the other, no, the listeners are learning from you. They're from other part of the world, as you said.
Right.
Okay, so my other question is about uh, what do you think about teachers' professional development, and what can teachers do for their professional development during this period?
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of I mean, the internet has endless amounts of material
Mm-hmm.
for us out there. I mean, on anything
Mm-hmm.
that we want to teach, the materials almost ready made for us. In addition, there are many workshops. I give a workshop. There's lots of teachers that give workshops, and when I first started teaching,
Yes.
the only teacher I ever saw was myself. And that one of the great things about the COVID, and there now being all these Zoom meetings and online meetings and teaching kids online,
Mm-hmm.
is that we have the opportunity to watch each other and to see each other teach. Because when I was a counselor, I would observe teachers, and I felt like I learned so much as well. It wasn't just me teaching them certain things that they could use in the classroom, but I also found that I took stuff with me that I liked, or if I saw them doing something and I'm like, oh, that's pretty boring, I wonder if I do that. Maybe I should do that too, and I should stop. So like you
Yes.
see the good and the bad in other teachers, and then you take what works for you. So
Exactly. Uh-huh.
yeah. So I think that teachers can learn from each other through the internet, through support groups, through there's all kinds of websites, Instagram, Facebook pages, where teachers actually put up themselves teaching, and they could, teachers can learn a lot from each other, is my main thing. And of course, in
Yeah.
Israel, we in the Ministry of Education, we have continuing ed courses all the time. So I mean, I think that teachers should, always. Obviously, they can't do it all the time because we have a life. You have kids. You have, school takes up a lot of time. But continuing education courses are also helpful.
Hopeful. You see. I see. All right. Great. Thanks. And so my other question is, what is the changing role of the teacher, and how do we support that new role?
What is the changing role?
Yes, of the teacher.
Um,
I think about it like, we actually, it's from face-to-face education, we moved to distant education. So the changing of the teacher roles in this case.
do you mean like what is the future for us as teachers? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah, we can also say that.
Um, well, I think that um, I think that the future in education has to coincide with the future of what's happening in the world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a specific answer because I haven't done a whole lot of reading or research, although I know that there are people that, have written stuff about this, but that, the education needs to change to fit the world that we live in. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
it's much more technological. I think that there needs to be a lot more higher order thinking skill type activities for pupils to do, and um, not
Yes.
just teach. I think teaching them how to learn instead of teaching them material. Teaching them how, I had this professor once that said it's only a mistake if you didn't learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
So teaching children how to obtain information. So for example, like sometimes I'm just sitting with my own kids and we're talking, and somebody will say something and right away we're like Googling it for the answer. And I'm thinking when I was in college, or when I was in
Yes.
my children's age in the 20s, if we thought of something and couldn't remember, we didn't get up and go to an encyclopedia and open it and look at the information. We just kind of said, oh, well, I don't remember, or oh, I have to look it up. But, today kids have knowledge every second of the day at their fingertips. So,
Exactly.
for us as educators, it can be a great tool. Unfortunately, a lot of schools don't let kids use phones, but if you let them use the phones only for educational purposes, it's a great tool for them to be able to look up information or to make
Exactly.
things with a barcode where they, I've made scavenger hunts where they need to use their barcode in the phone to find the answer in the internet. But it's very guided. It's not just that they're going all over the internet. When they do the barcode, it sends specifically to a kid's page. If the question is, how do clouds move? Then the barcode brings them to a page that they have to scan, and it says, how that clouds move by wind. So,
Yes.
and then they have to write the answer. So there are many different ways that, but the other thing I wanted to say about education is I think that one of the things that needs to be changed in the school system is that children need to be exposed much more to how to survive in life. In other words,
Yeah.
how to save money, how to invest, how to make decisions about going to college. Like, there needs to be more practical things as well as the content oriented information that they need to learn about, countries all over the world and what people speak and what the clothing, what foods they eat, but that is not necessarily English as a second language. That's education in general.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. It's a nice answer for that question. Oh, and my other question is, it's like, do you think that the current way of educating children fully prepares them for the needs of 21st century?
Do I think what?
Do you think that the current way of educating children
No, I don't.
like prepares them for the needs of 21st century?
No, I think that goes into what I was just saying before, that I don't think that, I mean, in some ways, yes, but in other ways, I think we need to I think in general, I can speak about Israel, but in general, I think that the curriculum is always evolving, and they are trying to adapt and make changes to meet the needs of the 21st century. But to say that it's there completely in every school, probably not.
Probably
but
not.
I don't have any specific, I don't have enough experience all around
about it. I understand. But it depends on the, it depends on the schools. You mean the education in the schools, it changes. You mean, kind of.
Right.
I see.
But going back to what I said before, is I think they need to have something in the school system that's more, in addition to what they're learning today, to have more practical learning of things that can really help them in life.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. And my other question is like, what do you think should be in an effective learning environment?
Okay, let's see. I did. Well, I think that it's important to have an environment that that's print rich environment, an environment that is allows the pupils to build their self-confidence. Let's see what else. They need to have it needs to be authentic. In other words, to read stories, to have games in the classroom. It needs to be a safe environment for them to feel comfortable to speak and learn.
Yes.
What else? I guess
that's about it. Like, it should be safe and for them to learn, for the kids. I mean, for the students to learn in that environment.
Especially speaking. Whenever I teach a new class, I always tell them a story about when I first came to Israel and that I didn't speak Hebrew, and that I would practice when I rode the bus. Whoever sat next to me on the bus, I would practice saying, my name, where I live, where I come from, how many brothers and sisters. And then they'd get up and get off the bus, and the next person would sit next to me, and I'd say the same thing, because I felt more comfortable speaking to strangers than to people I know. Because when you speak to people you know in a language that you don't speak, it's hard for you to come across intellectually. So it's sometimes embarrassing. So when I tell the kids that story in the beginning of the school year, I then go into saying that in this classroom, we provide a safe environment where nobody laughs at anybody else for reading something wrong or making a mistake. The only person you can
Yes.
laugh at is me. Like I tell them they can laugh at me when
Yeah,
I make
I see.
mistakes or whatever.
Okay,
So,
great.
because you want kids to not be afraid to speak.
You're right. You're right. Okay,
Because
it's
we
a very
can't
good.
expect a
It's a
child,
really good.
I was just going to
Mm-hmm.
add, we can't expect a child to write a sentence if they can't speak a sentence.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's difficult for them to do that. And my other question is, what does an educated person look like today
Hmm.
for you?
Well, I think I kind of answered it already by saying that I think an educated person today is a person who knows how to obtain knowledge. And
Uh-huh.
it doesn't necessarily mean that they know everything or that they've
Mm-hmm.
learned everything, but that they know how to obtain knowledge. They know how to share information. They need to know
Share
how to
info.
find
Mm-hmm.
information if they need it. Sometimes even in the WhatsApp group that I'm in with teachers, sometimes a
Mm-hmm.
teacher or like sometimes when they're looking for something in Google, and this is also a skill. We don't always know the right thing to write in order to get the right information. There's sometimes I have to play around on the Google and write it like 5 or 6 different ways before I actually get the information I'm looking for,
I
because it's
see.
all the
Uh-huh.
way you ask the question in Google to get the information. So I think that's really what a knowledge, and obviously, I'm a strong believer that people need to, go to higher education, but I also think that, you need to follow your dreams. I right now have one child who still hasn't gone on to his higher education because he is an amazing choreographer and hip hop dancer. So he's following
Wow.
his dreams. So the first
Nice.
thing I think everyone needs to do is really to do what they love. In order to be happy and successful in whatever you're doing in life, you have to really like what you're doing.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. You should love the things you do, really.
Right.
And my other question is about actually the government. So what role do you think the government should play in education?
Okay. Well, I think that they should be involved in some ways. First of all, financially, I think they have an obligation to be involved in supporting the public school system, making sure that and in this respect, I think it's important because the idea with government being involved is that that the money is equally distributed and not necessarily so that underprivileged children hopefully will get the same um, opportunities in
Mm-hmm. See
education
off.
as other communities that might be more well off. So I think government needs to be involved in that way. And I also think that it's
Mm-hmm.
important, even though as a teacher, sometimes it's a little bit of a headache. I do think it's important that There needs to be, because the Ministry of Education is part of the government, and I do think that there needs to be guidelines, standards, benchmarks, domains, that kind of thing that gives the teachers, it's like the bigger syllabus. It gives them the
Yeah.
guidelines of
Mm-hmm.
what they're supposed to be teaching. And I do think that there needs to be accountability of some sort for educators. I think that, but what often happens, which I don't like, is that the accountability becomes a competition. In other words,
Exactly.
the,
Uh-huh.
the the question always for me is, are we teaching to test, or are we testing what we teach? And if
Yes.
teachers should teach and then test, and not teach in order for the kids to pass the test.
Test. I see.
So
Great.
there's a fine
I,
line there. The teachers, and it depends on how much pressure they get from above. If it's the principals, if it's the the supervisor of the region. I mean, there's a lot of things that go in that are involved in that. But I do think accountability is important.
I see. I see. I see. Great. It's like a teach for life, not for a test, you mean? Yeah, teach for, yeah, kind of.
Right.
I see.
I mean,
And
a test is a guideline for us, but we shouldn't be teaching in order for them to do well on a test. We should be
I
teaching
see.
because this is what we want them to know, and this is what they need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And the test is the accountability to see if we taught them what they need to know, not we testing them in order to have our school be in the top 90 percentile. That shouldn't be the goal, to be in the
Yeah,
top
I see.
90%. It should be
Mm-hmm.
to see if we taught them what we're supposed to teach them.
I see.
If they
Great.
got it, to see if
Yeah,
they got it.
yeah. Good point. Great point. And my other question is, Patty, uh, actually, this is going to be my last two questions. And the last one is,
Okay.
what is your motto?
What is my what?
What is your motto?
My motto. I knew you were going to ask this, and I had a little bit of trouble coming up with only one, because I don't really have like a specific motto. I guess like I was thinking one of them would be to always think out of the box, to be creative. I don't really have one that's like, but
What?
and
You don't
life
have
is
actually.
maybe that life is a classroom, and that we're always learning.
Yeah, great.
And not
Okay.
just with English. I mean, we're learning. I mean, right now, the corona is our biggest life lesson. We are all facing it, that we never
Mm-hmm.
thought we could even imagine would happen.
I see.
Hold on one second.
I
I'm going
see.
to just get my
Okay.
phone cord.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Okay.
Oh,
Mm,
I just have to connect it. Sorry about that.
sure.
I
No,
mean, we
it's okay.
probably would be able to make it to the end, but I would be so nervous that the phone would die that I wouldn't be able to concentrate. So,
No, it's okay. We are
okay,
we are
I'm
al- we
back.
are almost end of our session. So
Right, but I'm like,
actually,
my luck,
yeah,
you like asked one thing and my phone would die. So now it's good.
okay, great, wonderful. So, uh, as a last thing, before my questions, all questions are end. So you were talking about your activities, I think. Yeah, you would like to show us something. If it is possible, can you show us one or two examples from your the games, if you
Sure.
have?
Okay. I didn't really prepare ahead of time. Like, but let's say this particular game, one of the topics that I teach, obvious for fifth grade is clothing. But when I do clothing, I don't just keep it in learning the colors of the shirt and the pants but we do a lot of other things as well. So this is I took them shopping. Okay, so after the game is where first they have to categorize. They have to
Mm-hmm.
categorize what sentences. See, it says, "Good afternoon. Can I help you?" So they have to categorize, and then it's who the salesperson is, what sentences are the salesperson, and what sentences are the customer. And then
Customer.
once they've categorized, they need to put it into a chronological order according to a conversation.
I
And then
see.
they can act it out, and then you can turn it into a writing activity where they need to write their own dialogue.
On
So
dialogue.
that's one activity. Let's see what else I have. I mean, I have a lot, but I'm sorry. I should have gotten it. I didn't know I was going to show it, so I didn't really get it. And
Yes.
this is a speaking game where you hand out the cards with all the different vegetables,
Uh-huh.
carrots, pumpkin squash, mushrooms. Okay, and basically, in all my games, there's usually some kind of guideline of the type of question, the chunk of
Uh-huh.
language that you want them to use. So the kids have cards, and then they say, what do you like? For example, they'll say, do you like corn? And then they have to answer, yes, I do, no, I don't. Or they can say, what color is the corn? Or the vegetable is yellow. There's all different things. They basically have to talk about the vegetables. Okay.
I see. Okay.
I think that's, I mean, I told you I had a scavenger hunt. This is the last one I'll show you. So it's a
All
scavenger
right.
hunt, like I said before.
Wow.
And in the scavenger hunt, it's not only rhyming, but it's all, they have to go all over the school. It's not
They're
just in their
codes.
classroom. And then they have to answer questions by doing the barcode.
QR code. QR code. Wonderful. Wonderful idea. That's a
Okay.
great. But in order to play that, they need a mobile phones, I think.
Yeah, but usually what I tell, because I've been in schools where they don't really allow phones, but I usually get permission from the principal because I say if you split into, there's 30 kids in the class and you split it into groups of 6 or 7 kids in a group, you only need one
Mm-hmm.
phone
I see. I see. Great.
per group.
So it looks really interesting and a fun game. Thanks a lot for that game
The
to
kids
share with
often
us,
say to me, are we in
Patty.
gym class or in English class? They forget that they're learning English because they're running to the next clue.
Yeah, it's really great, and that's also one of my favorite games, the Scavenger Hunt. It's also a very fun game and very active. You should be really active in that game. Okay, so actually that's all our live session for today, Patty. But before
Okay.
we end, what would you like to say to the teachers or educators or trainers all over the world as your last
Well,
words?
I think what you're doing is amazing, and I thank you for having me and giving teachers all
You're
over the
welcome.
world the opportunity to hear each other and learn from each other. I think it's terrific. And I just want to remind them that they can also join me on Instagram in English in Action. They can,
Yes.
every Sunday and Tuesday, I do a Sunday suggestion and a Tuesday tip where I give activities, and they can reach out to me individually for my workshops or to find out about my games and activities, my program. And that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you very much, Patty, and thank you very much for your time,
Thank
for
you.
your suggestions, for your ideas, for your great games to share with us. And what really nice conversation with you tonight.
Thank you.
And I hope you had a great time here with us, because I had an amazing time, and I'm sure that the teachers or the educators who listened to us, they were also loved to listen to you. and it was amazing. So thank you very much again for your time and for your ideas. And that's
And
all.
let's
And I
stay in
hope,
touch.
yeah, let's keep in touch. And I hope we will, have another session with you in the future. If we can arrange it, I will be really happy to do that again with you, Patty. Thank you very much
Great.
for
Okay. Have a
everything
good
for
night.
tonight. And thank you very
Thank
much to the
you.
people who join here and listen to you and listen to us from other parts of the world, and from Georgia, from Ukraine, from Turkey, from, I don't know, from Argentina. There were the people, and Israel, and the teachers, educators who from the other world to participate in this live station. Thank all of you. And that's all for tonight. And see you next week with another teacher talk sessions. And until that time, take care and bye bye, Penny. And thank you very much
Bye-bye.
again. Bye. See you. Good evening.